Hoennshy by Fenix. Chapter 15. City of the Dam. A harsh cold wind ripped across the cliffside as Twilight, Rarity, and Applejack descended the narrow, zigzagging path towards the gate of Minstrel City, staying wary of the sheer drop beside them. Twilight pulled her cloak tight and close with her with magic, letting the wind sheer off, which gave her some comfort. As they drew closer, the noise from the bustling city properly came into view. There was a cacophony of harsh noises and mechanical clangs, giving context to the plumes of smoke that rose and concealed the city's massive center tower and platform that towered high above the wall. Twilight knew the amount of fresh air inside would be very limited, so she tried to savor every breath as the details of the gate and outer walls became clearer. "What do I do about this?" Applejack asked, fighting the howling winds. She motioned to a pair of guards that stood on both sides of the massive wrought iron gate. They ran behind a large mound of snow and huddled. Applejack peered from behind the packed snow and watched the guards at his attention. "Those Venetians know we're coming. We can't exactly sneak in there with that giant wall blocking our way."
"But how Twilight can simply teleport us in," Rarity suggested. "It doesn't seem hard to buy."
"I don't think so," Twilight said, still exhausted from their trip over. "Considering that we're the only ones out here, those guards will be watching our every move. We have to be discreet. Second of all, this is a wall city, so we'll be better off if we're seeing everyone else." She peeked her head up and looked over the still stationary guards, checking to see if they were watching. "As long as we keep a low profile and hide our cutie marks, we shouldn't come off as suspicious." "How do you suppose we'll do that?" Applejack asked. "I hadn't seen him off like."
"Back before Apple Bloom found her friends, she wanted me to give her a cutie mark before her time. What resulted was only a temporary mark, but if I can invert the spell matrix, I may be able to invert the effects as well. It should be able to remove ours for a short time."
"Twilight, I have a much better idea. There's this tiny little town just to the north of Equestria, not a few miles away, just off the coast, nearby the coast. The buildings are all lined up in the shape of an equal sign. You go there, meet up with this mare called Starlight Glimmer. You talk to her, she removes your cutie marks, boom! Problem solved."
"The only problem is asking her politely to give you your cutie marks back."
"But hey, still works, and it's far easier than to ask Tempest Shadow to just bust down the doors."
"I am sorry. Are you saying I shouldn't bust down the doors?"
"What did you hire me for?"
"Tempest, sweetie,
We've been over this. You are the bodyguard for the studio. You make sure nobody gets in unexpectedly, and you also ward off Myken."
fine.
"I'll ward off Myken, whoever he is. He's an annoying twerp that won't leave me alone."
Fine.
Apple Bloom did that? The nerve of that girl. Does she know how to be patient? Yeah, give her 4 more seasons."
She sighed, then looked up at Twilight with a worried look on her face. "Not that I'm down on you, another twat, but the last time you tried a spell you weren't sure of, well, you wound up here to fix it. This is different. Only Griswold spells can cause deviations if I get them wrong. This one fails, it just fizzles out. No harm done." Both Rarity and Applejack looked at her, appearing to be more inclined to bolt than allowed the purple unicorn near them with her magic. Twilight sighed. "Of course. I'll try it on myself first." She frowned as both of her friends breathed a sigh of relief. Twilight's horn glowed a bright purple as she prepared the experimental spell. She released the energy in small bursts, and in only a few moments, the cutie mark that branded her haunches disappeared in a small flash. Twilight looked at her cloak to inspect them closer, noticing her cutie marks were completely gone without a trace. Only purple fur left in its place. She smiled at her success, but she was unsure of how long the spell's effects would last. The longevity of the original had been but a few fleeting moments, and she would only hope it would last long enough to get past the guards. "I can hardly believe that worked," Rarity said, inspecting Twilight's bright tonsils. "That would certainly be harder to do than not."
"How long is it supposed to last?"
Applejack asked. "I'm not sure. I haven't tried this before," Twilight explained.
"What if it wears off before we reach the gate?"
"We improvise,"
Twilight smiled nervously.
Quickly, Twilight erased any trace of the other two ponies' markings, before turning to face the looming wall ahead. With a gulp, she tried out from behind the snowbank and towards the gates, taking slow, deep breaths. Even when friends near her, she was still nervous about pronouncing as Phoenix after all she had been and seen thus far. Even after a lifetime devoted to study, she was still grasping at straws when it came to the Venetian people.
She hadn't come across it before, and even while studying outlying cultures, it was as though they had simply been written out of history. As if on cue, two armored ponies snapped to attention, watching carefully as the equestrians approached. Beads of sweat trickled Twilight's brow as one of them, a unicorn, stepped forward. He was dressed in obsidian silver armor with no symbol whatsoever, simply a blank spot, where the commander and the mercenary symbol had been inset.
What business do you have in Minstrel City, unicorns?
The guard asked as Applejack and Rarity caught up to Twilight and stood by their side. The sounds of creatures from all sorts had made themselves clearer, and to threaten to drown out the guard's voice.
From whence do you hail?
From the south, Twilight blurted out instinctively. The map Luna had given her was hopelessly specific to Equestria and Phoenicia, and most of the surrounding nations left a tiny prints at the edges, which Twilight inertially crossed over. We're from Kars. It sounded right, at least it did to her. She studied the guard's face closely, watching a smile grow across his case-on face.
I've been to Kars before. It's really a nice country. Do any of you know a pony named Cat? I never met a filly that baked a better papaya roll.
The blush on his face was easily seen through the snow, making Twilight suddenly unnerved yet relieved. Every sign leading up to Minstrel City signaled mortal danger, ranging from the Phoenician lord's mercenaries to the pack of griffins that assaulted them as they passed through the mountains. Never in wildest imagination did he think he would be greeted by a young stallion talking about papaya rolls.
I haven't, but she sounds like a very lovely girl,
Andy chimed in, burning up the guard as he only knew how.
Do you have a thing for her, perhaps?
The guard's face flushed even harder red as she asked this.
Well, maybe. What are you three doing off here in a hellhole like this?
He hurried to regain his composure, wiping the blood off his face.
Kars couldn't have gone under that quickly, could it? Times are tough, but that would be ridiculous.
We're explorers, Twilight explained, the guard nodding attentively at her every word. We've heard a lot about Minstrel City, so we decided to take a look. The other, more ordinary Pegasus, simply snored and sat down on a wooden stool, rolling his eyes. I'm a scholar by trade, and I wanted to see the city for myself.
Explorers, huh?
The tan Pegasus looked down with narrow eyes.
You two look a little well-fed to be explorers.
Excuse me,
Rarity asked with a fiery bite.
What's that supposed to mean?
I'm sorry. He just meant that it doesn't look like you're starving, that's all. I get it now. You're dignitaries, aren't you? Your accent isn't very common in Kars, but that and your tone sound like the ruling class if you ask me.
Twilight breathed a small sigh of relief before her lips curled a smile.
Well, the government didn't want anybody to know about our arrival.
I see. This has to do with Lord Saki's rotten food export last week, doesn't it? News must travel fast to get to Kars so quickly. Normally it takes at least a week and a half for shipments to get there.
Twilight was surprised, knowing that news could travel instantaneously in Equestria, due to Pegasi and Dragonfire being primary modes of long-distance communication. The scholar in her wanted to press the guard for more information about the Phoenician postal system, but she suppressed the urge and simply nodded along with him.
Well, I won't keep you then. I'll open the gate for you.
He turned away and walked up the stone archway that surrounded the metal gate and pressed his hoof against one of the stones. A green light emerged from his hoof before the entire gate was enveloped by light itself. Like a cacophony of screeching metal that allowed the sound and rest of the city, the gate slowly rose. It made a large metallic thunk as it stopped. The green energy fading as the guard removed his hoof from the stone. He trotted back to the three mares, looking pleased with himself.
It's been a while since I've done that.
Thank you very much,
Twilight said with a small smile. She only walked a couple of steps when the guard stopped her with a hoof. Panic shot up her spine as she looked down. The guard motioned for her to lean closer.
Just between us, there are rumors that here that Equestrians are either coming here or already got into the city. The lords have been scrapping to make sure they aren't blamed for this, so be careful what you say around them if you see them. You and your friend's coats are a little careful to be around here, so some guards may suspect you immediately. Don't tell anyone I told you this.
He glanced at the guard who was busy looking at the gate.
Good luck. Lord Saki isn't known for his small temper. Just head down to the road to the upper level entrance, and you should find him there.
He took his hood off her and stepped back, gesturing towards the gate. Applejack and Rarity walked up to Twilight's side as they trotted past the guardhouse. Twilight was ecstatic, but highly confused. Not one peek under their cloaks and they were let through the gate. Is no pony supposed to know about us coming?
And don't you let that dirt pony server touch anything, you hear?
The Pegasus called out. Applejack made to respond, face contorted in anger, but Rarity halted her with just a look, successfully corralling her back into line as they passed beneath the massive gate. From the inside, the wall looked about 100 feet thick, made completely of limestone and iron girders. A small pathway was built to the side,
with stairs leading up to the wall's interior. Twilight shook her head, wondering if it could be so dangerous in such a desolate, frozen wasteland that you would need guards posted at all times in addition to such fortifications. She looked up, noticing a pair watching them from above with spears and hoof. The guards' heads moved as three walked on, monitoring their every step. She ducked her head nervously as they passed into the city proper. All the clanging and haze began to make sense as she entered. A stream of ponies, small dragons, griffins passed in front of the gate, a few of them stopping to watch the three enter. The streets were overflowing with merchants and blacksmiths, selling an impressive array of craftworks and other goods to their well-appointed patrons. Smoke rose from the rooftop chimneys and wafted through the air from the brick and wooden homes that lined the straight paths before them. Small wintergreens made their homes near the doors of the merchants in small clay pots. Curious, Twilight broke away from her friends and walked up to one of the merchants, watching him bring a hammer down on glowing red steel, sending a cascade of orange sparks to cobblestone below. Weapon blacksmiths were rare in Equestria, and especially in Ponyville.
Ah, look what you see!
The blacksmith asked, setting the hammer down and wiping the sweat from his brow. He submerged the hot steel into a vat of water, sending a plum stream skyward before taking it out to showcase the onlookers. A faint glow still shone from the wide blade, smooth edged and sharp. It was formed of pure colored metal, and glimmered in the sun and glare from the fallen snow.
It's quite impressive,
Twilight said, with several others nodding in agreement.
Something's been my family for generations. There are dozens of old family secrets here, poured into each one of my blade. Some of them go back hundreds, if not thousands of years.
He paused with a stifled chuckle.
My grandpa always said our lineage has been doing this since before the Frozen Ages.
Before? When did it start?
Twilight asked. The blacksmith turned and faced her with a confused look.
No one really knows when, miss. Some say it was a freak house of nature, while others a punishment for the dead land. I always believe it has been this way.
He showcased the leaning edge of the blade, holding it all for seeing.
You heard me right. Skills honed since before the Frozen Ages. Only the gold for such a magnificent
Punishment for a dead land? What does that mean?
Twilight wondered quietly, tuning out the blacksmith's sales pitch. Before she could find the words to press him further, Twilight was hurried out of the way and thrust into the back of the crowd. The blacksmith silently prepared another sheet of metal to put in the fire, while the ponies and a dragon filled in, blocking her view. With a sigh, she forged ahead, catching up to her friends as they soaked up the city's culture. Up ahead were several homes, plated white and cream, nearly blending in with the white-gray slush that coated the ground. Twilight didn't mind the slush, as it didn't feel like needles pressing to her hooves as she walked through it. With the upper level approaching, Alexandra glanced over the bushels of fresh berries and stew in front of the shop, while Verity preoccupied herself with reclaiming the signature swoops and curls of her mane and tail, trying to make herself presentable as they walked towards the city's central tower. Twilight slowed down her brisk pace, letting her friends catch up before an odor shot up her nose, making it wrinkle in revulsion. With nothing else in her mind, she turned her head every which way, trying to locate the source of the pungent stench. She looked between a pair of houses and spotted two guards standing with spears, much like the ones on the top of the wall. One wore a red and silver dragon scale armor, while the other standard black and gray. A silver, gilded dragon was perched on the guard's chest as an insignia. Twilight quickly broke her gaze with the pair, intending to look inconspicuous as he trotted away down the road. The smell only gained strength as the straight and narrow path led them to the upper platform. It was roughly 30 or so stories above ground. A flat disc that the snow seemed to be able to pass right through its underbelly. It appeared in shadow, yet light touched the ground underneath as if nothing were there. As it started to snow again, most, if not all of the shopkeepers closed up, moved inside, while others went inside the immaculate homes that lined the streets towards the center, leaving the three alone and shivering. Loud clangs and commotion could be heard beyond the houses, leaving Twilight to wonder what was beyond the guard's barricade. Before she could try to investigate, however, she was eyed by one soldier whose eyes locked upon hers. Averting her gaze, Twilight tore out the middle of the path until she nearly reached the outer platform's edge. Just ahead was a lone soldier approaching the set of stairs. A small buzzing sound began to swell and drown out the rest of the city noise as they approached. Upon further investigation, the stairwell was blocked off by a soft green light, much like the one the guard used to raise the gate. Twilight looked up and kept her eyes on the lip of the disc as she passed underneath. Under a single step into his range, a look of confusion washed over her. The whole upper level disappeared! Look! Twilight said to Applejack and Rarity, nudging them. When she looked over, They were always staring upward at an empty void. A small flurry of snow and gray clouds were the only things he could see. If it disappears when you come near it, how can police walk on it? So he looked back down at the green energy, her mind hastily forming a conclusion. It was enchanted. 100 questions came to her mind before she was caught by Rarity's hoof, stopping her for a dozen humming force field. Rarity smiled sweetly as he faced the guard, nudging Twilight to do the same. Passes, the guard said, sitting forward in his chair to get a closer look. Twilight glanced at her friends, each of their faces showing their own brand of confusion. Passes? We were never told about that. Twilight explained, her host tapping with nerves as the guard stared at him with sunken eyes. We have something important to see up there, so if you could please let us through. Can you afford them or not? The sentry interrupted, tapping the butt of his spear on the ground.
Exactly how much are these passes?
Rarity asked, stepping forward. She reached for her saddlebag, but swiped only air. Only now remembered it was lost during the griffin attack. Rarity began to play with her hair instinctively, trying to fake that she was trying to do in the first place. 100,000 gold pieces apiece, the guard put it bluntly. Twilight reeled back, then tried to compose herself in the hope of appearing as the price didn't faze her. You buying any, or are we done here?
What we do, y'all? We can't kill them plants,
Applejack whispered, leading Twilight and Rarity to back away from the guard. Those lords have a better chance of finding out about us if we're up there with them. Well, the book ain't even there, and we're being led into a trap.
We can't afford to take any chances,
Twilight agreed.
Ask first, act after. We shouldn't rush into anything here.
You don't know there's a library around here? Applejack hollered, watching his guard snap back to attention after becoming entranced with spear play.
We don't have any money for you, but any information would be much appreciated.
The second-eyed soldier laughed before getting to his hose. Finding anything other than scum down here would be a miracle in itself. If you can't afford it, I'd be happy to show you out. Suddenly, Twilight was knocked off balance by the push of a shoulder and fell into the snow. She looked up and saw 2 guards to the west, who blocked the alleyway stepping inside, clearing a path.
Stop it!
Twilight cried out, looking back at her assailant, before being struck in the face with a sheathed sword. She felt a bruise already beginning to burn on her cheek as she was pushed forward, stumbling into the alley. The soldier jammed his sword in the back of her neck and pushed her in the snow. She broke the fall of Rarity as he crashed unceremoniously on top of her, while Applejack was at least able to keep her footing, turned to yell something Twilight couldn't make out as her ears buzzed painfully. Rarity quickly shook off her daze and rolled off Twilight, sending a hoof to help her friend back onto her hooves. As the adrenaline wore off and her daze subsided, the stench from before reared its ugly head once more, sending her reeling. The slush that had littered the ground in the alley found its way to the solidly packed snow, with pieces of trash sticking out along the walls. It wasn't white, but a cold black, peppered with the white of the rapid snowfall. Twilight pushed forward along the down alley, leaving the relative warmth of the strip behind as fumes in air funneled through it. With her hose left completely unprotected, she tore off a piece of cloak and magically formed a rough set of boots, covering it not all of her hooves. Rarity followed suit, eyes lighting up at the prospect of doing the work she was best at. Taking some thread out for the cloak, she used a small speed of scrap metal from the ground, fastened it to a needle to sew new boots. She hummed and smiled as she worked on the scrap of cloak, something Twilight hadn't seen her do for some time. Twilight felt a smile of respite for the cold she had trudged through, watching the fascination lose her work. The feeling was fleeting as the sharp pain in her side flared up, causing her to hunch over. She came fully lucid at that point, tending to a wound before scanning her surroundings to see the grime and filth that coated the alleyway. As she approached it and took a whiff, rinsing her repulsion as she forced herself away.
What is this?
She asked herself, stepping closer to run her hoof through it and inspect the black, grainy substance. What are you doing? Applejack asked Twilight, as Rarity finally finished her makeshift boots.
The whole hallway is covered with this dust.
She looked up and noticed the array of smokestacks that stood up on the high, flat-looking roof. But closer inspection, it crumbled under her hoof, releasing a smell of rank sulfur in the air.
We're right next to a factory, but I don't see where that house ended.
She looked back down the alley and saw that the house never stopped.
What is this then? Ash?
They walked along a wall that bled ash and exhaled smoke.
It's fake, but why?
What will they gain from flanking a house in front of a factory? It don't make much sense, Applejack asked, inspecting the wall of ash herself. It was warm. Twilight could tell as she ran a hoof over it. She brushed some of the ash off, revealing white and yellow cinders still behind the ash.
This is steel!
Twilight exclaimed. Brushed off more, seeing the entire wall looked the same way.
It's a steel mill. What do they need so much steel for?
I don't know, but why would they have this from the outside? It don't seem right. I'm not sure. Twilight put a hoof to her chin and thought.
looked up into the void that vanished under the upper level left. I think the bigger question is, what is so important in the upper tier to place such high security and cost on such a large part of the city? They even characterize this highly guarded. I don't think you could even fly up there if you tried to. Why do you say that? Rarity asked. Didn't you notice that when we once went below, the disc as it disappeared? Appears to have an enchantment on it to make it fast when we pass underneath. If they need a guard to let somebody through, it will certainly work above as well. Main barrier is most likely the only entrance that leads you to reach it at all. Owls echo to the sky. Once the snow falls through, there's nothing more above them. So how do they get any fresh water up there? The snow passes right through. We can worry about that later. We still haven't seen what's the end of this alley. So let's keep focused on what's down there for now, Twilight said. Owls and Rarity nodding in agreement. With their sights focused on their surroundings, the walk through the alley might seem to be shorter than Twilight had thought. Stopping for a moment, she bent down and wiped the soot from the snow, before placing a hoof full of pristine snow against her face, and reduced the swelling on her cheek. Factory whistle and the laughter of children funneled through the alley, as they stood mere steps from the exit. Several kids ran by, Twilight taking note of their slag and dirt-covered faces and ragged clothing. She trotted into the street proper and froze, unable to process the sight. Ramshackle housing lined the winding streets as families huddled outside the oil lanterns, holding their hoods out for warmth. The dust that caked into their flesh made it almost appear older, hoof-woven garments laid over the ragged bodies. The children swung back around, giving the equestrians another chance to see that their rib cages were prominent under shriveled bodies. A stallion in his middle ages began to violently hack and cough. Similarly aided mare putting her foreleg around him to comfort him. This is terrible, Twilight said, breaking the trio's silence. I think we now know why the upper level is so well protected, Applejack chimed in, stepping back to let a dirt family covered pass by her. What kind of fancy pants lord will be down here in the slums? Applejack's comment made Twilight's mind work overtime to make sense of everything before coming to a conclusion. They have a field caste system. With a turn of her head, she saw a soldier in navy and silver armor, turn a corner with sword and still in his sheath. His face had a slightly plump quality to it. Compared to the ponies around him, seemed rather well off. Quickly, Twilight ran her hose to Rarity's mane, but yet to let it fall in loose strands before stripping her of the necklace and stuffing it into her bag. What in Celestia's name was that for? Rarity hissed, trying to fix up her mane again. I just got this cleaned up, and now what is you doing to my necklace? Look at every pony around you. If we don't want to be caught by guards, we need to be incognito. Keep your hair down, but at least make it presentable. Twilight said, realizing that all the ponies in the street were earthly colors, while they were bright and colorful, and worst of all clean by comparison. It don't mention anything about back home. Rarity simply nodded as he simply untangled her hair. I hope it doesn't all look like this, Rarity said as they started walking down the street. Suddenly, a piercing whistle blew through the mill, causing the three to cover their ears. The shrill tone didn't seem to affect all the others, as most of the males stood, marched into a building without a word. Twilight got a cleanse in her eyes, sunken in with dark circles underneath, as soot seemed to be melted into the skin around it. She wished Rarity was talking about the crime like she would normally, but no, she meant the people with her defeated gazes, and Twilight couldn't agree more. Luna had been right about Minstrel City. The moniker City of the Damned felt like an understatement. What's the plan? Applejack asked as the whistling finally ceased. The remaining ponies in the street silently went back to their business as the soldier walked by. He gave them only a cursory glance before continuing his patrol. Where do we even start? I don't know, Twilight admitted, already sick of hearing the words out of her mouth. Down the road she could see a line of stallions and a few mares, heading towards the outer wall, marching two to a row. Most held pickaxes in their mouths and wore helmets with spotlights in their front. She could hear murmurs amongst them, even towards the constant growing noise of the factories. I think we should take a look around. Watch ponies to try blending in better. Blend in? With them? I hardly think we can look at the parts just at a time, Rarity said, looking at the ponies over. Still, we have to hurry. I shudder to think of what Fluttershy could be going through right now. Don't worry. I plan on speaking with her tonight. Worst case, we'll force our way to wherever the book is and get them out of here. For now, we're going to be discreet. Twilight scooped up another hoofful of snow and pressed it against her cheek. The swelling was minimal, but her cheek still stung. Walk around and pay attention to what ponies are doing. I'm sure we'll come up with something. The three resumed their trek down the road, staying relatively silent as they kept their eyes focused on the small groups of ponies remaining outside. The streets were quiet outside the intermittent clangs and whirs emanating from the factories.
making it hard for them to walk by unnoticed. Houses and shops that they passed all looked the same, each were cobbled together from various types of wood and metal. A couple inside of one of the shops waved through a window, catching Twilight's eye. One appearing to be surprisingly clean and free of soot that caked everything else. Several wooden baskets that matched the lids were stacked in front of the shack, a small evergreen doorway. With nobody else to base their investigation on, Twilight broke off and entered the shop. The interior looked much like Sephiroth's shop in Wheattown, only smaller and stuffier. The walls reflected the haphazardly constructed look of the exterior, but reinforced with steel beams that ran from the wooden floor to the low ceiling. Behind the counter was an assortment of dried fruits and grains, hoodfuls and clothing, barrels of ale and cider, and even a few wooden and steel toys to Twilight's surprise. A third, the holy mare, stood expectantly behind the counter. Smiling at Twilight, she stood closer. She was illuminated only by a small lantern, whose flames flickered in the draft that flew through the hot shop. A mat with a red trim covered the floor with ash, with a navy and silver banner hanging on the back wall, blazing with a single eagle in the corner.
Welcome to our new store, newcomer.
Her voice, rough but sweet.
I hope the whistle didn't scare you too much.
Thanks, Twilight said, wishing they didn't come across so obviously green.
Where do you come from? It's hard to believe that anyone would come all the way to Minstrel without any money. Most creatures freeze to death before they even get close. You know, it had been so long since I heard what the gates sound like when they open, I thought something horrible was happening.
I was like a rarity walking behind Twilight as she thought about how to respond. Why do you think we have no money? Isn't this where the guards send everybody?
The shopkeeper laughed. They sent you here, didn't they? The Steel District's under Lord Barlin himself. If you ever had a sense of your name, you would have had at least to the mining and textile districts. Who knows? Maybe even a cultural district if you caught them in a good mood.
Her husband took a gaze from the front window and walked behind the Sarah and sat down.
Plus, the nasty gas on your face shows it well.
When we were forced through the alley, the house on the main road was just merged with the factory behind it. Why would they fake that?
No one really knows about us in the lower level actually comes to Minstrel. They probably had to make the entrance presentable, not to scare off potential visitors or allies. It's a callous thing for them to do, but it works.
That's horrible, Rarity interjected. So that blacksmith we saw, was he fake as well?
It was probably one the government hired to perform at the King Alley folk. Liars and cheats to all of them. Not as like the hard-working folk down here, lack of money and all.
If no pony has any money, then why would you keep your shop here?
Twilight asked, perplexed.
Been my family's business for generations. I'm not about to pack up and head out. There's too much history here for us to leave.
But why would you call us over then? You think we're broke, right?
Can't Polly say hi to her new neighbors? I'm sure you'll get enough money to move to a better district at some point. You have good heads on your shoulders.
We have money. It just isn't usable here. Twilight interrupted before the shopkeeper had the chance to get out welcome baskets.
Honey, we've seen every currency across the entire continent pass through here at least twice.
Her husband chimed in, words filtered through her bushy gray beard.
Whatever you have should be good enough.
Twilight gulped. She said too much. Just outside, there were guards that could easily come in and capture them. The cold in her weariness was stretching her mentally thin. We aren't from the continent. We're sailors, she lied, waiting for their reactions. The shopkeeper simply smirked.
You don't need to lie to us. I know sailors when I've seen them. You really don't want to talk about where you're from. I understand. I'm sure I could trade whatever you have with some of our reserves.
How much would this give us? Twilight dug into her bag, pulling out one bit and placing it on the counter. The shopkeeper grabbed the bit as close to expected. A bit was just a flat piece of gold without any country or city name pressed into it, so Twilight had no misgivings about giving that one up.
Haven't seen anything like this before.
She paused a moment to bite down on the coin. Looks to be genuine metal, though. She began to mutter to herself, something about alloys and carat weights.
As I can tell you to use have further in the city. You can't put this to any use here, but I'm sure there are places that can.
Where? Do you have a map?
Sure. It's the only thing except for flour and grain that our lousy government gives us for free. They use some type of special paper for it, too. One that I don't know doesn't come from here. Head west from the bank towards the city Collins district. That family is richer and more really lenient about certain transactions than the Barlins are.
She slid over a folded sheet of paper, like shining out the map as it was coated in some sort of resin. The drawing side was color coordinated between the districts. Magnified areas of the map were pushed into corners, allowing Twilight to read the names of the places too small in the larger map. The Colwins, what are the colors? She asked. I'm extremely glad she had taken the shopkeeper's invitation. They are crimson and silver. Twilight began to sweat from nerves. Dragons are their sizzle, and there's even a rumor that they are dragons themselves. No one could be a lord unless they are a unicorn, though. I wouldn't put much stock in that. The shopkeeper finished, smiling wisely at Twilight's apparent apprehension. Thank you so much, she said, trying to stop calm. Is there by any chance anywhere else we could trade these in? You died of starvation before you got there. Besides, Colorless District is rumored to be where a few of the richest folks stay. The ones that are allowed to King's Alley, at least. Is there a better time there than anywhere else? Thank you for your help, Twilight said, folding up the map and placing it into her pack. The shopkeeper bent down and rummaged through a pile of what appeared to be damaged merchandise. Twilight stuck her head over the counter to see what she was looking for. It was thrown back as the Holy Mare sprang up and placed several items on the table. For your travels, she said, spreading the items across the counter. 3 pairs of warm boots, a warm pack, several pieces of flatbread, 2 canteens filled with water laid out before them. A warm yet sly smile grew on her face as the 3 looked to their new provisions. What's this for? Y'all just giving it to us? Applejack asked, perplexed. Of course. You'll need this to make it to the Colwyn's District of Ease, the shopkeeper stated. However, as Twilight made to set the goods, the shopkeeper drew him back a bit, a strained grin grazing her face. But I do require a small but modest fee. What is it? Twilight asked warily, watching the shopkeeper leaning in close to them. I want to know where he came from. You just said you didn't care, Twilight retaliated, slamming her hose on the counter. Why ask now? Security in the Colwyn's district has been ramped up as of late. You 3 seem awfully keen on not setting foot there. She passed one of the boots. Does Risen worry you so much you can't tell me where you're from? There's that name again. Risen. The lord of the Griffin's leader promised to deliver them to. The one that set a battalion of mercenaries to hunt them down. If you hide security in the district, and every other district are several days to walk away, you have no choice. Twilight caught her eyes, started back and forth in thought, quickly looked down to concentrate on the items, trying not to appear worried. I won't tell a soul, the shopkeeper promised. First, tell me if there's a library in your district. We're looking for a book to help bring our friends home. From what I've heard, yes. But you won't find one, though, unless you look in the right places. Lord Baldwin's always been too drunk and too stupid to give us anything of worth. Twilight sighed, mind racing to come up with what she would do if the shopkeepers attacked them when, or if she told them. I'm worried about what would happen if I told you more than anything. Oh, no one pays attention to anything that goes down here anyway. Thieves, murderers, and other scoundrels pass through the shop until they reach one of the other districts. Even if they were reported, the guards too pampered and out of shape to do any real work. She laughed, making Twilight wonder if it would be safer in the dragon's den than staying where they were. She turned to Applejack, who silently nodded her head. We're from Equestria. Silence filled the shop quickly as her words hung in the air. Without a word, the mare pushed the eyes towards them, forcing them straight to Twilight's chest. She just her head left as he stopped back from the counter. Her husband walked through the door on the left, beside his shop, boots thumping down on wood as he went down the flight of stairs. Keep yourselves hidden as much as possible. Let no one in red and silver speak with you, the mayor ordered with a tense look on her face. Thank you, Twilight said, grabbing the supplies and placing them on the inside of her new bag. We'll be careful. Remember, you have friends here. Don't forget that, she said, placing a hoof on her lips before blowing out the lantern on the counter. Tell us safe. We will. They walked out from the shop onto the streets of snow falling from the sky. Being frozen with crystals, they heard the tumblers of the lock on the door turn behind them. It was hard to see what was in front of them, providing them with better cover than they could hope for. The wind was weak. Just one more blessing as they descended into Risen's territory. She passed the new bag, the element of generosity, and a quartet of boots over to Rarity, as well as a set to Applejack. In Twilight, slipped her makeshift boots slipped into the new ones. Her was already feeling warmer as they provided much more of a barrier than the canvas ever could. She tossed to the side as the road, thinking perhaps their families could use them later. What was all of that about? Rarity asked as Twilight folded the map. The snow slid straight off, elevating her fears that it could be ruined in a snowstorm. What's Fenix? What's the stop mean? I don't know, but I'm sure we'll find out soon enough, Twilight said as she started to close down the Risen's district. The route wound through the back alleys, keeping them off the main road. It shouldn't take more than a few hours to reach it. Their district is surprisingly far south. She folded up the map and tucked it away. I suggest eat something while we still have the chance. After taking a few more moments of walking, they found a spot between two houses where the snow was stopped by one of the house's large chimneys. They sat down and opened Twilight's bag, taking out the remaining apples and water they had left. She picked one of the apples off, nosing the brown spots covering half of it. The apple already parched, its throat dry. She bit into it and grimaced at the teeth of the overripe fruit. She took a few more bites before tossing it away. "Holly, just don't toss food away!" Alzek reproached her, picking up the apple from the ground, using the fresh snow to clean it off. "We don't have any money, and your child's weigh perfectly good apples?" Twilight sighed, thinking of the long swing of water to rid herself of the taste. The water was half frozen and had ice chunks floating in it, but she gulped it down regardless, pressing a piece of the ice against her inside its still sore cheek, before taking a small bit out of flat bread. It tasted surprisingly sweet for such old-looking bread. It was oddly soft as well. She savored the taste as she ran her hoof down the road again, trying to keep every turn and straightaway in mind before they headed off. After downing another swig of water, she rose and packed away the rest of the food. "Are we ready?" "I'll be just a second, darling," Verity said, carefully lacing up her boots. "Well, they're not very stylish, but I guess they'll have to do for now." She stood as Applejack did, looking behind her to feet still empty of life. Verity glanced over the peeling sides of her boots. A grin was forming on her face. "Once we finally figure your face is settled, I'll fix them up so they're at least presentable." She paused and looked over again. "These may take some work, mind you," she muttered darkly. "Lead the way, Twilight." The maze of alleys stretched through the district like a grid, allowing them to run through the little chance of being spotted. Houses and other buildings provided perfect cover for them from both the wind and prying eyes. Shoots for the distance tossed their trash were mounted every few feet, displaying the countless piles of litter strewn across the ground. After they traveled a dozen or so blocks by the alley, the noise of the steel mills began to subside, only to be replaced by the sound of chatter and even laughter, drawing Twilight off. The contrast between the people's banner ahead and the ones in the steel district was like night and day, giving Twilight some hope that not all of Minstrel City would be soul crusty as Lord Battle's slums. Soon they reached the crossing, forcing them into the streets. Houses along the street appeared uniform, nicely painted railings encircling their balconies. Most had an upper level from adjacent tapestries, banners hung illuminated by wrought iron lamps that lined the street. A multitude of ponies were outside, conversing or working while kids played in the freshly fallen snow, their faces vibrant and youthful. Twilight glanced up at one of the lampposts, finding a banner declaring it to be the textile district. Several griffins flew by overhead, prompting Twilight to duck back into the alley. On closer inspection, she noticed that they were small, wiry bodies as opposed to peacefully through the air. They were much smaller than the black-winged griffins, allowing Twilight a brief sigh of relief. With a nod, they continued their run through the streets, under the cover of the still falling snow. The back streets wound much more severely than the new district, much like a spider's web in its intricacies of turns and connecting alleys. Twilight had to consult the map several times, as desperate which way to go erupted amongst the trio. The constant sound of snow crunching between their hooves was a constant companion as the buildings they passed became fancier, more stretchily sound, while the streets grew considerably louder. "Why are we going this way?" Verity asked, tiptoeing around the freshly tossed out garbage. "We've been going through nothing but troughs. I'm not going through any more." "Because it's north, just like the map says," Applejack argued, striding past Rarity and Twilight.
"That's not even the right way. They could be dead and down there."
Rarity huffed, turning back to Twilight to check the map. "I looked at the map myself. I know where I'm going."
"Huh! See? We can go around it. I refuse to run through any more muck."
"We're escaping from some war that wants us killed, and you all be fussy?" Applejack asked, stopping her hoof down.
"Be quiet!"
Twilight yelled softly, making her friends stop their sallow and followed her directions once more, but not a soft glance shared between them as they waited for Twilight to pass. By the time their quarrels had finally subsided, they slowed their pace considerably to catch their breath. The air in the district was surprisingly clean, allowing Twilight to relax without fear of a headache, coughing, or feeling worse than before. After hours of constant movement through the alleys, even more commotion could be heard coming from the streets as the sky began to glow dark. Twilight opened up the map and figured out where they were, realizing that they were on the cusp of a straightaway that led right into the Collins district. She took out a flask and drank heavily from it.
preparing herself for anything once they had crossed the threshold. She pointed out to Applejack and Rarity, who still their nerves as wear. Twilight took a deep breath before moving forward at considerable speed, seeing red and silver banners hanging on the taller buildings that made her final turn. Unlike Ballad's district, the alleyways are clean. The walls that separated them from the buildings had completely disappeared. A significant amount of snow was smoothed out from the alleys, revealing the stone pathway that they were now walking on top of. Cross-sections of the alley were higher in number, making them have to stop to survey the area more carefully. They passed through several such intersections when she found herself staring at something she never expected to see. An armored pony riding atop a feral dragon, heading straight for them in the cross-section. Twilight motioned for her friends forward, sprinting for the end of the alley before the Dragon Knight could turn to hunt them down.
This way!
Twilight went behind him, while seeing the dragon peeked his head into the alley, took it with the air, and began bounding towards them at incredible speed. It opened its massive jaws and lunged forward, missing Rarity's tail by a scant few axes. Quickly, Twilight's horn glowed with a purple light as she turned to face the beast. She sifted the no from the rooftops, causing it to crash to the ground to stall the dragon from heading further. She stumbled back in a sprint before it burst through the bank, swiping at Rarity once more, dragging her to the ground with a frustrated roar.
Get off of me!
Rarity screamed, blasting the dragon off with magic. Tumbled through the snow, wiping off his rider before getting back up with a snarl. Rarity scrambled to her host just as the dragon lunged forward, the soldier calling it for it to return. Applejack raced forward and ran to it with his shoulder, knocking it back to the ground and sliding on the snow. A plume of fire wildly erupted from its mouth, tearing the walls and melting the snow around it.
Run!
Twilight called out from Taurus in the alley, looking for a way out. Ahead was another intersection, just far enough to stop and plan their escape.
What now?
Rarity panted. They stopped as they reached the crossing, looking down the different paths to find a way out. Twilight turned back, watching the soldier mount his dragon once more, long sword in mouth.
Liar!
Applejack cried out, pointing to Twilight's right. Down the sword path was a multitude of creatures walking down what looked like a main road, while the other two led various ways.
We ought to be able to lose it in those crowds.
Twilight and Rarity simply nodded before bolting down the main road. Hearing the lone rumbling war, the soldier's mouth get close, louder, and echoed through the limestone maze. The sound of chattering the townsfolk grew out, drowning its cries as they ran. Moments later, they burst out from the alleys into the open, quickly vanishing into the crowd. On the side road packed, a gathering of creatures in the crowd in front, regularly appointed, ornate-looking building, painted in royal crimson and silver. Twilight heard them shout angrily as countless guards in dragon-scale armor pointed their weapons at the rallier civilians. She waded through the stream of ponies and dragons and trotted to the outside of the furious crowd. She caught her breath before the sound of the crowd's uproar turned everything into a mismatch of sound. Before she could even begin to take in what was happening, she was startled to slant into the other ponies. She looked behind her and saw the dragon come out of the alley, sniffing the air before walking along the road, seemingly giving up with a disappointed snarl as the dragon yelled out something that couldn't penetrate the noise of the crowd. She breathed a sigh of relief before the stallion, dressed in royal red coat and silver treatment, crested a high platform from which he could be seen above the crowd. Twilight looked around, noticing both friends weren't with her. She peered between the enraged ponies, but they were nowhere to be found. A diminutive black dragon perched atop his shoulder as he reached the top of the air to demand silence.
Do not be alarmed, citizens. This was the punishment the Lord called when some fit for a crime that was unforgivable. If your deeds are not as heinous as the scoundrels were, you shall receive mercy.
Twilight shoved ponies out of the way to get some across the crowd. The crowd began to boo and throw rocks at the officer, so left something to his right out of view. She nudged past the remaining ponies and stopped, sitting frozen in horror once he had been on stage. I began to shake with nerves as her felt her stomach turn, by pleading and screaming to turn her away. Snaggy's lifeless body hung from the gallows, flesh torn and bloody from the whip, the word traitor branded on his chest as the body twisted on the crowd's onslaught. Twilight could see 3 deep gashes in his haunches, dripped with still fresh blood that fell into the snow, staining it with crimson hue. 3 cuts. Exactly where a cutie mark would have been. Bum bum bum!